Welcome to Student Engagement in Standards-Based Learning. Section 3, Assessment Methods and Strategies. We have discussed the importance aligning the assessment and scoring guide to the standard and the alignment criteria to use. We have discussed our viewpoints on assessment. Next, we will explore various assessment and rubric options. I will give you a brief introduction of these pieces, and then you will have an opportunity to review and discuss them in more depth. Please turn to page 79 in your participant manual, Assessment Methods, Proficiency-Based Rubrics, where you will find a different kind of rubric created for the rhythm improvisation. Many districts are using proficiency-based rubrics in addition to or instead of scoring guides. As a standards-based curriculum becomes more established, it requires rubrics that measure levels of proficiency for established criteria and specific tasks. Proficiency-based rubrics help students and teachers assess when a standard has been mastered. Please turn to page 80, where you will see the terms formative assessment and summative assessment defined at the top of the page. A wide variety of methods are available for assessing student learning. Assessment is best viewed as an ongoing process rather than a single event at the conclusion of instruction. Formative assessment is termed assessment for learning. This constitutes a constant check of learning or progress toward a standard using a variety of methods. Summative assessment is termed assessment of learning. This type of assessment is also varied, but reflects the degree to which the student has mastered a standard or learned a concept. On page 81, Assessment Methods Continuum, you will see the various forms of assessment delineated. Toward the left of the continuum is traditional assessments. These represent highly controlled, narrowly focused responses. These assessments generally have a single correct answer or pre-established standards of response that are expected. The objective method of testing forms the backbone of traditional assessment and evaluation because its reliability can be measured. As you move further to the right of the continuum, you find performance-based assessments. Here, student responses become increasingly varied depending on the type of assessment used. Performance-based assessments allow students to demonstrate their learning by creating a product or performing a demonstration to show what they understand and can do. Rather than asking students to recall and recognize factual information, these activities require students to apply knowledge and skills and transfer learning. At the far right of the continuum is self-assessment. Here, the student is empowered to check and redirect his or her own work based on criteria or standards developed independently or in collaboration with the teacher or facilitator. Self-assessment provides the most open-ended method of assessment. It is an honest assessment and subjective recognition of quality on the part of the student. Self-reflection and self-assessment are important skills. Like other skills, they require training, guidance, modeling, feedback, and practice. The teacher's role in the student's self-assessment is to act as coach and give feedback by reviewing, reading, listening, questioning, or otherwise interacting with the student. Notice the boxes at the bottom of the continuum. For traditional assessments, testing, rubrics, and pre-established standards of responses are used by the teacher or facilitator to evaluate student learning. For the performance-based assessments and self-assessment, mutually agreed upon standards or scoring guides established by the teacher, facilitator, and students are used. Debriefing is used as an ongoing process to assess student learning and thinking processes. Also notice that the use of the process skills, the use of 21st century skills, complexity of learning environment, length of time required, and variety of student response increases as you move to the right on the continuum. Now that we have gone through various assessment methods, take a moment to review the proficiency-based rubric on page 79, the comparison of assessment methods on page 80, and the assessment methods continuum on page 81. What insights emerged from your reading of the material? How will your classroom practices be impacted? Please respond to this prompt in Canvas Modules Section 3, Assessment Reflection. Optionally, respond to a classmate's post in a meaningful way. Remember, as the continuum shows, many options exist for assessing learning. The critical element in using any of these assessment methods is the identification of what is important to assess. As we learned previously, students must be aware of and understand the standards and process skills they are learning. Once teachers and students collaboratively understand the criteria that constitute the desired element of mastery, the teacher or facilitator can provide frequent and immediate feedback as the student works toward mastery. We have discussed the need for aligning the standards, assessments, and scoring guide. We have evaluated various types of assessments on the assessment continuum. Next, we will focus on formative assessments and discuss some of the formative assessment strategies you use or can implement in your classroom. To do this, we are going to form grade level or content area groups. Participant groups will be posted in Canvas Modules Section 3, Formative Assessment Strategies. Please turn to page 82 in your participant manual, Formative Assessment Strategies. We have modeled various formative assessment strategies in the course so far. We have modeled reflective assessments at the end of each section. You have written a triangle, square, circle, and a bright thoughts reflection. We have shared meaningful aspects of each section by doing a whip around, where each of you shared an insight learned. After each activity or content piece that we learned, we stopped to debrief and discuss what was learned and make connections. When navigating standards, we assessed your knowledge and opinions by using the frame and reframe assessment. In addition, we open this section with a pre-assessment on assessment practices. Let the chips fall where they may. These are only a few of the many formative assessment options available for use in the classroom. These formative assessment strategies allow the teacher to assess the level of understanding of his or her students. In Canvas Module Section 3, Formative Assessment Strategies, you will find the activity directions and your group members. You will work in an editable Google Doc. On the left side of the document, you will brainstorm a list of formative assessment strategies. On the right side of the document, your group needs to decide which 3 of the strategies are your favorite. Post your grade level group's top 3 list in the discussion area. Return to Canvas Module Section 3, Formative Assessment Strategies Discussion, and look over the strategies posted by the other grade level groups. At the same time, focus your attention on the bottom of page 82, Formative Assessment Strategies. List the strategies you can use in your own classroom in the table. Locate pages 83 through 85, Formative Assessment Strategies, where you will see a list of additional formative assessment strategies. Take a moment to review your options. As you can see from this chart, as well as the additional strategies shared in class, many options exist for formative assessment. Using a variety of formative assessments in the classroom helps students be less anxious about assessment, since they see it as an ongoing process instead of a one-time event. Next, we will model and experience one of the formative assessment strategies shown on this chart. You have just shared various formative assessment strategies and reviewed others on the chart. Now, you will get the opportunity to experience one of the formative assessment strategies listed. Quizzes are a common strategy teachers use to assess student knowledge. However, remember that we want the assessments we do to give us valuable data while at the same time engaging learners. If students find the assessment engaging and fun, they are less likely to become anxious about or dread being assessed. The pre-assessment we did, let the chips fall where they may, is one idea you can use to make the traditional quiz more engaging. We will now model another more engaging strategy for quizzing students, the fish pond. Since we are learning remotely, we will not be able to complete this activity as we would in a face-to-face class. At this time, we're going to adapt the directions. Please turn to page 87 in your participant manual, Assessment Strategy Fish Pond, where you will see the directions for this activity. If you play this game in your classroom, you will want to have the fish taped somewhere easily accessible so students can grab each one. Some teachers tape the fish to their whiteboards. You will tape a question to the back of the fish that you would want students to answer. For this activity, we would identify 14 people to play. We would rotate roles among the group in number order with each question. Person 1 will be the first fisherman. The fisherman walks to the fish pond and catches a fish. The fisherman must not look at the question until the fish is on the boat. The fisherman hands the fish to the captain, who is person number 2, and the captain reads the question on the fish. Please locate page 88, Fish Pond Log. This is the answer sheet for the fish pond assessment. Each person writes his or her answer on the fish pond log on page 88. No discussion occurs until everyone has an answer recorded. Then, share answers and reach consensus as to the correct answer. Correct your answer on the line if needed. The captain now becomes the next fisherman and walks to the fish pond to release the one fish, which means attaching it to the fish pond again, and catches another. The fish is handed to person 3, who is the next captain, and the process is repeated until all fish have been caught and all questions answered. Now, let's at least go over the fish pond questions. Would it cost you less to get a $1,000 loan at 15% for 10 years or 8% for 20 years? Name the states that border the state you live in. List the ingredients needed to prepare a Caesar salad. Explain what happened to the Mayan civilization. Predict what the weather will be like tomorrow based on recent weather patterns. Draw the hand signal that indicates a right turn. If you buy 5 tickets to the movies at $8.50 each, what is the total cost of the tickets? Write your answers to these questions on page 88 in your participant manual. Number 8. Describe the most memorable depiction of Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. In football, how many yards must the team move the ball for a first down? Use the word prestidigitation in a sentence. Name the animal who is considered the king of the jungle. If you were going to cut wood into the shape of letters, what tool would you use? Compare and contrast tornadoes and hurricanes. And 14, name the 3 branches of the U.S. government. Please write your answers to these questions on page 88 in your participant manual. Then, please turn to appendix page 341, Fish Pond Key, to check your answers. Now, please go to Canvas, Modules, Fish Pond Activity Discussion Area to respond to the prompt waiting for you. Please return to the Standards block on page 87 for Fish Pond. Respond to the following prompt in Canvas, Modules, Section 3, Fish Pond Activity. What ideas do you have for adapting this formative assessment strategy to your classroom? Please pause the narration until you respond to the prompt. You could adapt the setting. Instead of having fish in a fish pond, you may make the rainforest and birds for a quiz on the rainforest. You can add an element of competition among the groups. You can use shapes, and students have to be able to recognize the shape to get the answer in the correct spot. You can use the school mascot as a shape or whatever sport is in season. Record any other ideas you have in the Target Connection section of the Standard block. The fish pond included a mix of factual as well as open-ended questions to show its flexibility of use. The teacher can collect the ship's log from each student to assess the level of knowledge and understanding. It is important that students cross off and not erase their first answer so the teacher can assess where issues exist. What engaging strategies are evident in this formative assessment? Students can work together. Students can move around. And there are hands-on manipulatives. You will note that the standards area was left blank because you can align this assessment strategy to many different content areas. Based on one of the ideas you listed under Target Connections, locate a state or district standard to which you can align this assessment. When the state or district standard you chose is in the standards block, you may move forward. Remember, as you have just experienced, assessment can be engaging, fun, and purposeful. Think of ways you can add variety to the formative assessments you do in the classroom. Data is an important factor in student achievement. However, there are ways we can make assessment relaxing, engaging, and fun for students. Sometimes we get our best data when students are engaged in the assessment and not experiencing anxiety over being measured. It is only through frequent and varied assessment that we can measure proficiency for standards and adjust instruction to achieve mastery. This concludes assessment, methods, and strategies. Please continue to Module Section 3, Generate, Making a Generalization.